Now, stranger, just you sit right down in that chair. If you just hold real still, I'll,
Pull to open.
Pull to open?
Yes, and what do you do?
I don't care what you do with it, my good man, only get it out of my sight.
Oh, can I what?
Now, you know you can't stand.
The Ballad of the Last Chance Saloon.
Play, maestro.
Hold it.
Here come the drums!
So here it comes, the sound of drums. Here come the drums, here come the drums.
Howdy, y'all, and welcome to a very special end-of-year episode of Pull to Open, the podcast that goes in extremely random order through all of Doctor Who history. My name is Chris Taylor.
And I'm Pete Paschal, and Chris and I are a couple of guys, a couple of journalists who love Doctor Who, who are here at the end of 2022, sort of on holiday or about to anticipate a holiday, and it's very apt for what we're about to talk about in this week.
It's a dark really holiday, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a very dark holiday. We are recording this, we should say, just before Christmas, so we're filled with a holiday cheer or the panic of last-minute present buying and all of the associated stress that comes the day before Christmas Eve. So take your pick. But to take us away from our stress, we go on random adventures, and here's the random adventure that we've been on so far. We'll just catch you up on the last 4 episodes. You want to go any further than that? Check out the rest of the podcast. 4 episodes ago, we were at the William Hartnell episode, Planet of Giants. We were very, very tiny, hiding out in giant matchbooks and fighting off cats. Then 3 episodes ago, we fought off the Weeping Angels because we did not blink. 2 episodes ago, we went into Capaldi Zone with the Zygon invasion, Zygon inversion. I'm still not sure if it's our Zygon cells that survived that, and if we're just sitting somewhere in a pod, not recording a pod. But then from there, we went to a massive, massive 3-parter, the Master Trilogy, at the end of season 3 of the new show, Utopia, Sound of Drums, Last the Time Lords, absolute bangers, each and every one. And then from those absolute bangers, we went back to William Hartnell, to not a banger, but a show with lots of bangs in it. It is the Gunfighters.
Lots of bangs in it.
It has
Not
lots of loud bangs.
Well, I guess they're kind of fun, I guess, if you think about it. But yes, there's some bangs.
Yes, if I were called upon to write a positive review of the Gunfighters, that would be it. Has lots of bangs. But yeah, it's been a journey. It's been wild.
Well, I also think the randomizer lately has been on a bit of a Hartnell kick, kind of a mini Hartnell kick. But it's funny that the last 2 classic episodes that have come up are both Hartnell and in successive seasons.
Yes.
So it seems to be showing us a bit of a snapshot, an overview of his time there. Because this is interesting to come to the Gunfighters after Planet of Giants, which kind of like Planet of Giants, it was just getting going. Like, they'd done 1 full season. It was a phenomenon. And they were like, all right, how are we going to, follow that and level it up? And now in the Gunfighters, we'll get to it, but it was created in a very tumultuous time for the show. Season 3 was kind of like all over the place in a lot of ways. So
yeah, it really was. Here. It really was, and the strain definitely shows. And it's also interesting that they were a season apart because we've had a complete change of TARDIS team in the interim, and we would see that once again in 10th Planet, which we've already been to.
This is actually going to be our first season 3 episode. It's 10th Planet season 4. It's also our first Dodo and Steven episode. We haven't done them for the pod yet, so
that's right. We're going to have a feast of Steven at Christmas. But first,
I don't think we can get through a single episode of this podcast without mentioning the Feast of Steven for some reason. I think
let's do it.
Just one of those things.
Every episode going forward, let's find a Feast of Steven reference. It's a fine old episode. I can't wait to see it. But yes, from feasting on Stephen, or at least feasting on his fabulous cowboy outfit, to feasting on the feedback loop. How do you like that segue?
Pretty good. Lots of fee sounds happening. Fee, fi, fo, fum, everyone.
Feedback.
Hey guys, Normally, this is a time where I ask, perhaps plead a little bit for those listening to leave some reviews. But for now, I'm going to take a little bit of a different tack because it is the holiday season. Guys, I just want to express my gratitude for all the great reviews you guys have left. Really since the beginning of the show, but this year there were some just absolute amazing things to read. You can go back and listen to the podcast. We try to read out every review on air. It's been amazing. You guys have been great. Thank you so much for following the show, continuing to follow the show. A lot of reviews I read are about people who sort of discover us on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, and then they end up going back and binging the show, which I'm just tremendously grateful for. And thank you very much for letting us talk about Doctor Who with you, whether it's a car ride or just hanging out wherever. It's been great to share this with you, and I really value everyone's review and everyone's feedback wherever you're giving it to us on TikTok, YouTube, or wherever. So thank you very much.
That's right. Yes, we're here to take you through the deep dark night with some smooth Doctor Who reviews. Thank you for allowing us to be the voices in your ears. It's really started to feel this year like this is a show with a real audience. Like you're so interactive, all of the emoji reviews and stuff, and we do love, this is one reason to put the feedback loop right at the start. We love to interact with you. So the more reviews you leave, the more of a conversation we can have. Leave us emoji reviews if you haven't already, emoji titles of the show. I'm going to say the Gunfighters, pretty easy one. There's that cowboy hat. It's the cowboy hat emoji is right there. The gun emoji is right there. Maybe the tooth emoji.
The tooth emoji would be great. The gun's
emoji.
Now a water pistol, though, so that I guess you could sort of infer what you want from that emoji when you need to. But.
I mean, this one might as well have been shot with water pistols, so it seems kind of appropriate.
Fair.
Yeah, so do that if you haven't already, and go smash that like, subscribe, follow button on YouTube, where we're climbing in the rankings.
So if you were just listening to us talk about reviews and you think, hey, I've already left a review, how else can I support the show? One thing you can really do, because I know a lot of you listen on Spotify, is actually head over to YouTube and follow us there as well. We've had a nice growth of followers there, but we're at about 400 some, and I'd really love to get to 500 maybe not by the end of the year, but soon. And also that would give us license to set our sights on that 1,000 mark, which would be amazing. And things are going really well on YouTube. Obviously, you get to see us. That's the huge bonus. But we have a lot of good conversation that's happening there, too. We're getting all of our shorts there, and some of them are going pretty viral, both on TikTok and YouTube. And there's a lot of good comments that are coming from both of those networks. So there's a whole another level of interactivity there to take part in. So please follow us there as well.
Yeah, definitely head over to YouTube if you are suspicious of TikTok and its influence. If you think it's spyware, go on over to YouTube. But if you don't, then head on over to TikTok, where there are fabulous conversations happening.
It just occurred to me, it's funny that we're doing this the day after they did the omnibus spending bill in Congress.
Yes. And
I do know one of the parts of that bill was government employees can no longer have TikTok on their phones. So if you are a government employee and you really want to see both our videos and interact with fans of the show, YouTube is definitely the place to be. So check that out.
That's right. They set up a $1.7 trillion spending bill to attempt to pull to open if essentially out of your mind by taking it away from TikTok, taking you away from TikTok, but we won't let that happen, will we, folks? You can head over and see all of our TikTok shorts on YouTube. So we've got some good comments there on TikTok.
Yeah.
I hear it's a platform where people are not shy about saying stuff.
Yeah, for those of you who are braving whatever surveillance there may be on TikTok, and, I'm sure it's fine. There is a great amount of interaction going on there. Honestly, I continue to be humbled by our TikTok commenters because there are a lot of thoughtful people, a lot of super fans. And, when we talked about last week, a lot of comments on our Blink videos, they really brought a couple of extra dimensions to the story that I never would have occurred to me. So that was amazing. So our most recent set of videos were around the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion. And of course, we could not get out of we could not cut a video around Capaldi's masterful speech at the end of that two-parter. And tons of comments on that one. They're still coming. But there was an interesting comment here that I wasn't sure about at first, but he the way he explains it was really, really thoughtful. And I'd just like to read it now. It's going to be a longer comment, guys, just so you guys know. So I'm going to be reading for a bit, but I really want you to listen to all of it. So this is by Mr. Twin Spark. And he says, I disagree with the content of the speech politically, but his performance is that good. I agree with it for a solid half hour. It's that good. And someone actually asked, like, wait a minute, like that sounds like an insane take. What do you mean? And to this person's credit, he very thoughtfully explained his position. And I think it's actually a really good thing. That's a fair comment and fair to discuss. So he says, thing is, he's saying you shouldn't ever have war because you should always sit down and talk. Revolution isn't good because people die. And to a point, he's right. But there are times where there is no choice. There are times where oppression will not end without violence. The Arab Spring, the Russian Revolution, the French Revolution. There is often no way out of oppression without violence. War is terrible. Sometimes it's necessary. But the speech takes a stance you shouldn't have a revolution because innocent people will die and someone will do a revolution to you in the future. And I just don't feel that's the right message. It feels like it's saying that if you're oppressed, kind of just go with it a bit. I think it's muddled a bit by the fact that we don't really know what the rebel Zygons seem to be fighting against. It never felt clear, and that oppressed. And the oppressor will meet on equal ground, but they don't, because if you have the power, you don't relinquish it easily. I'd be entirely fine had it not been framed around what he explicitly calls a revolution. Had it been just a regular war, it'd have sat better with me. It's just that framing it around it being a revolution that throws me. Revolutions don't happen for no reason, and people die fighting for freedom, not just some extra land or oil. Innocent people die, yes, but they were dying anyway under the original regime. That's my issue here. So that was interesting. Sorry that was so long, but I really thought it was a very smart comment. It's the kind of discussion that we often have on the show. Yeah, and I think he brings up a great point. You know, it's just there's a very nuanced take on this that you can have, and again, it's one of these things you don't necessarily always have to agree with the politics of the show, or usually, I mean, it changes with producers, but of any particular episode, to appreciate the episode, right? Yeah, and I think that speaks to well of this person's fandom and just what kind of fan they are, because also the person who responded to them, I just want to give the original commenter kudos. He could have got defensive, as so happens a lot on social media, and then it becomes kind of a flame war. He didn't do that. He came and really fully explained his position. And it's like, can you believe it? The internet produced some really thoughtful and productive discussion around something. It's no ad hominems. 5 out of 5 stars for that discussion. I'm really, really glad that Pull to Open is attracting the sort of thoughtful historical debate. Who'd have thought? I'd love the opportunity to respond a little bit. I'm surprised that he mentioned the Russian Revolution as a positive one. First of all. We forget that there already had been a Russian Revolution, that the Tsar had already been deposed, and that it was actually, the Bolsheviks were a tiny, tiny splinter group who were extremely radical, as opposed to Alexander Kerensky. I remember this well, I studied it at school, who was sort of more of a liberal reformer. And Russia probably would have been in a lot better straits and fewer people would have died. So actually that may work against the commenter's point. However, the point is well taken, and I think what he should have inserted there was the American Revolution. Right? Yeah. I mean, that was a certain level of repression. As a Brit, I'm prepared to admit that. You guys didn't want to pay tax on your tea. Fine. Yeah. And now look at you paying sales tax on your box of Liptons. Who's laughing now? Hey, at least it's not VAT, though. That is a crazy rate, my friend.
Okay, good point. Yes, you are free from the terrors of VAT. Well done, America. No, but seriously, it was a positive revolution. It was relatively bloodless in terms of there could have been, a white versus red Russia kind of situation where, the revolutionaries fight the Tories for years after the revolution, but instead there was just sort of like, let's all move forward together, not so much as amnesty as just like, let's build a new country out of this. So I take the point. I think that it is clearer in the show, in the Zygon invasion and inversion, what their aims are than this commenter suggests. It is clear that their aims are, let's wake the Zygon race up. We'll just have a war. We'll have it out with the humans. Like that seems to be their only ideology, and it's a self-destructive one. It's a suicidal one. Yeah. Right. And that's sort of the issue with it. Yeah. Yeah. And also the Doctor, I mean, clearly the Doctor knows that there are some wars that need to be fought. He fought in the Time War reluctantly for that reason, deliberately had a regeneration into a warrior so that he could do that. Good man goes to war. There's another example of it. Sometimes you do. Yeah. But also, like, if anyone knows the difference between a good war and a suicidal revolution, it's the Doctor, I would say.
Well, and also I think on display is his faith in humanity, which in the scene is sort of represented by Kate Stewart, which changes the equation a little bit, and maybe, I don't know if it makes this guy's point redundant, which is still a good point, but it is because he's right. Like, if you have an oppressive and effectively irrational, or at least a leadership that simply will not listen, like they won't even sit down and talk, what choice do you have? But here there's kind of sanity on both sides, and you could peel it apart because part of it is also power, right? Like, if you have all the power, you have no reason to sit down with someone, so you don't really have a revolution. You can't really sit at the table and talk until you demonstrate you have power that should be talked to. And that often requires violence. But of course, what happens in revolutions, the violence doesn't stop there. Like, if we're being real about revolutions, like, a certain revenge quality takes upon this, and rarely is ever the previous regime just given amnesty in some magnanimous way. Usually they're either just summarily executed or some kind of show trial happens. So to have this sort of end with like a more like negotiation, or more of a like peace talks negotiation, seemed like the only way they could do it in this setup. But again, commenter's not wrong. I think there are definitely, like, this is the great thing about Doctor Who, there are several episodes, and you just named a bunch, where you could look at the other side of this and, show the heroes with their hand forced into the violent choice.
Yes.
But I think this is like a bold, interesting, and different take that the new show took in doing this. And, we both gave it, even though there was other problems with that story that we talked about at the time, I mean, it's telling that we both gave it a good, a positive review.
Hater banger hybrid.
Yeah.
So speaking of haters,
big discussion.
Thank you so much, TikTok Tolerances, for having thoughtful discussion. Please head on over to the TikToks or to YouTube and raise the level of debate. That is my challenge to you. We like to challenge the randomizer, but I'm challenging the audience here. Go on and raise the tone, and let's help cement Pull to Open's reputation as the thoughtful Doctor Who podcast, where you the audience have a say, you have a voice, and we interact with that voice. And let's keep this conversation going, folks.
Absolutely. And feel free to share that voice on TikTok, where we are at Pull to Open, or Twitter and Instagram, where we are at Pull to Open 63, and YouTube, just what we were talking about a little earlier, youtube.com/Pull to Open. Okay.
It's time. We can delay no longer.
We can't. There's no other business. It's the holiday. Nothing's happening. I mean, they're still shooting the show, but we talked all about the costume last week, and there's been no... Yeah. I can't stall anymore, can I?
No, you can't. It is because we always start our discussion, as we will start with the Gunfighters, with TLDW, Too Long Doctor Who, or Too Long Didn't Watch. And in this case, it kind of applies to me, because honestly, I got lost in the plot of the Gunfighters here. It's not very clear exactly what is going on in any instance. So I'm so glad that this week, Pete, it is your turn in the chair.
Yeah.
And we allocate 30 seconds per Classic Who episodes. That means that you have 2 minutes to summarize the Gunfighters? How are you feeling?
So here's the thing. Like, I only finished watching it last night. I'd seen it obviously decades ago, but I haven't seen it since then. And I still needed to, before, I haven't done the usual amount of prep that I usually do for this podcast because of our schedules in the holiday. And I had to, I hastily read through a summary of the story prior to this, and we'll see. We'll just soon find out if that was a waste of time or not, because I don't know if I'm that much clearer on episodes 3 and 4.
I'll tell you what, I will give you extra points. No matter what, no matter whether you finish the summary in 2 minutes, I'll give you extra points if you sing it. Sing it to the tune of the Last Chance Saloon.
Okay. Oh my God. No, I don't think I could do that.
Not necessarily, but if you can rhyme on your feet. Maybe a verse, yeah. All right.
It's a little too much prep. In fact, I could just sing the song, which is a pretty good plot summary.
All 20 verses of Last Chance Saloon. Yeah.
More than 2 minutes for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well,
through that, listeners, but I will put you through 2-minute attempted plot summary of
yes, with rings on your fingers and bells on your toes. It is time to start the official pull to open summary of the Gunfighters in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hey, it's the Old West, and the TARDIS materializes in Tombstone, Arizona, just days before the legendary shootout at the OK Corral. The Doctor, Steven, and Dodo quickly mix into the local populace. They go to the Last Chance Saloon, where the Clantons are getting ready to take on Doc Holliday. They're looking for him, and they enlist this guy, Seth Harper, who's a gunfighter, and they try to get him to come to the Last Chance Saloon where they can shoot him. The Doctor has a toothache, it turns out. So he actually goes to Doc Holliday's dentistry. He's just opened up a dentistry in Tombstone, and he gets his tooth pulled. But Doc Holliday notices that he's going to be in trouble, and he actually sets up the Doctor to look like him and have his gun so that they mistake him for Holliday. And the Doctor gets basically pulled into this. The Clantons try to threaten him by making Steven and Dodo sing this terrible song while they're there. And but basically there's a lot of back and forth. The Doctor gets the jump on the Clantons with the help from Holliday, and eventually gets thrown in jail just really for his protection by Wyatt Earp. And the Earps obviously have issues with the Clantons, who are local rustlers. The Clantons are going to try to get Doc Holliday, who they think is the Doctor, to come out of the jail, and they threaten to hang Steven. That doesn't work. And basically, there's a lot of back and forth. Holliday leaves Tombstone for a bit. He comes back, but he's got Dodo with him. Dodo threatens him to come back. They come back. So the Holliday allies himself with the Earps, who the Clantons have shot the brother of, killed one of them. So they're out for revenge. Earp, who's a marshal, Wyatt Earp, deputizes the Doctor, and they all come together at the OK Corral at the end. And Dodo, the Doctor, and Steven don't shoot anybody, but they are part of the events where the Earps shoot them, and then they eventually get in the TARDIS and take off.
Pretty good. A few seconds over, but that's all good. It's Christmas. We'll forgive it. We'll say that's a success. Very well done. You got in some names that I completely forgot. The Seth Harper. I completely forgot who that was. I
didn't get back around where Holliday shoots him. So there's that. And I completely forgot. I didn't get around to Johnny Ringo.
You didn't get around to Johnny Ringo. You didn't get around to Charlie the bartender, who is murdered. So memorialized he gets 2 verses, despite just being on screen for 5 seconds. He gets 2 verses of The Last Chance Saloon. There's stuff I left out, but ultimately it revolves around the gunfight at the OK Corral, and
the Doctor and Steven and Dodo getting pulled into that web of issues between warring factions. I'm sure there's going to be some time in Chris's history corner in this one, but
barely. Like, it's so ahistorical, I barely even bothered. But let me just give a shout out. First of all, I would like to send a special message to me in the past, and also anyone else who hasn't seen the Gunfighters, as I hadn't before I had to watch it for the show. If you've been curious about the show, because it does have this sort of legend around it of being one of the worst, lowest audience appreciation score, not actually ranked the worst in a lot of polls, but it sort of still has this kind of, clinging to it, this stench of failure. So you may be wondering, just how bad is it? And is it one of those so bad it's good kind of things that you should watch? I'm here to tell you no. It is not. It is not so bad it's good. Do not indulge your curiosity. It's bad. It is Star Wars Holiday Special levels of bad. And the sets are good. The sets, if you compare the set to the set for Planet of Giants, clearly they've spent a lot more money on this. The camera work is good. There are some good angles. The final shootout's got some interesting camera work. But overall, no, just no. And just don't watch it. And a big part of it is this song that is just, it sticks in your head and it's so cloying, and it starts to update you on the action that you've just seen. And by the third episode, you just want to hurl something at the TV every time the damn song comes on. There's more to say about the song, but Pete, how was your overall reaction to seeing this again?
I think you're a bit harsh. I would say that the Gunfighters is not an example of good Doctor Who, but it for the different reasons. I mean, the song is kind of love it or hate it. I think I hate it.
I'd like to hear from anyone who loves it, but
I grew to hate it. In other words, I was willing to go with it, and then the song eventually almost becomes narration to the point where if it were done in a modern way, you would be so you'd be tempted to break the fourth wall and have people start literally reacting to the song like that. That might save it. Wait a minute, what did that person just say? You know what I mean? So that would have been fun. That wouldn't be Doctor Who though, right? So, but overall, yes, it's ahistorical. You noted the production values, which I agree are actually amazing for the time, for sure. But even generally, it still looks great. It looks like a great Western set. But I think what I like about this is that it shows Hartnell's funny side more than most other episodes. Hartnell is very underrated as a comedic actor. Usually you think of Troughton, you think of McCoy, certainly Tom Baker, but Hartnell has a lot of really amusing moments here. He's so playful. And that whole first episode with the tooth pull is so surreal. I got to say, the Gunfighter starts out pretty strong.
It does.
And then it just gets into this weird, strangely Byzantine faction war between the Clantons and the Earps. And I honestly, I've seen Tombstone, not for a while. I even saw that terrible Kevin Costner Wyatt Earp epic. This might be the most needlessly complicated retelling of the fight at the OK Corral in the background to it. It just felt like, what's everyone doing and where are they and what's happening? And it's not really helped by the accents.
And it's weird because the writer Donald Cotton actually had a friend in the US, a cabaret performer in the US who went and visited Tombstone, Arizona for him to do some research.
Oh, interesting.
And then went and just ignored everything and wrote the story he wanted to write. Part of the problem is it's not Wyatt Earp who was the marshal, it was Virgil. Holiday. Doc Holliday was did practice as a dentist in Georgia, I believe, but never in Tombstone. Bat Masterson, who why is he even there? He wasn't even the sheriff. Johnny Ringo, why is he there? He wasn't present for the OK Corral fight. He was just thrown in, I guess, because it was part of the overall. Right. Donald Cotton seems to be stuck. The writer seems to have been stuck in terms of how to approach this. Is it a pure historical? Is it a satire of cowboy films? And you sort of see him leaning towards the latter a few times. I mean, it is a farce. I mean that in the literal sense. It seems to have been written as a farce because the Doctor, in true Shakespearean farce style, has been mistaken for Doc Holliday.
Well, and also the Last Chance Saloon is like this. It's basically the room with four doors with people sort of coming in and out, and people shooting people from hidden places, and then I can't. How many murders happen there? The 2 or 3 or something like that, and it's just kind of like people just keep coming in and out of there. And once the scene starts in that saloon, like there's probably going to be some kind of either cliche or goofy ending.
Yeah.
Again, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like that could lead to a so bad it's good outcome, and I think sometimes it does. I just don't think it's consistent enough.
I mean, the deaths. If you're a fan of scenery chewing deaths, then the Gunfighters is your show. There's definitely chewing the scenery in the Last Chance Saloon. Yeah, you know what, the song just kind of like, I want to redeem the song somehow. So first of all, I'm going to mention that it was sung by Linda Barron, who's not on screen. We've encountered Linda Barron before. Do you remember? She was in Closing Time.
Oh, was she? She was the shopkeeper.
Yes, she's the woman in the department store who thinks that the Doctor and Craig, is it the James Corden character, have that baby together. So, you know what we've done? We've done a Linda Barron bingo. Linda Barron and Doctor Who bingo. We've completed it here. We've also done a bingo of Doctor Who songs that are sung by cast members. So the only other one, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, listeners, is in The King's Demons.
Okay. But I mean, she wasn't a cast member until years later.
Oh, no, but Stephen and Dodo sing it.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yeah. So in terms of songs that are sung by anyone in the cast, that's it. We've done it. We've bingoed. Thank you, Randomizer, for getting that one out of the way. And the song, I mean, I just sort of, I kind of got a bit carried away with the idea of, like, you just continue the song throughout Doctor Who history, but you save it for really important moments. Like if at the very end of Earthshock, you don't get the Doctor Who music at the outro, you just get, so it's farewell to Adric as he plummets to the earth, far away from E-space and the world of his birth. That's as far as I've got.
You got more verses? I'm here for it, man.
I got to watch Earthshock to kind of come up with the rest of it.
Cybermen are destroyed, and the TARDIS has been wrecked. They hurry up, Doctor, and save your wretched kid. I don't know. I had that.
You need something that rhymes with Heathrow, and the Doctor's going to go ignore it and go back to Heathrow.
Doing it live. I was never that good at rap duels either. Sorry, everyone.
Yes, if you have a song of a verse for Last Chance Saloon to apply to your favorite Doctor Who story, please let us know in the comments.
Wow, this could be our new emoji reviews in Last Chance Saloon versus as the plots of every episode. Okay. That's like the end of year. No.
I mean, it is the first song commissioned for the show, so you can see why they would want to use it and overuse it as a Greek chorus, but it's so bad. But by the way, if the randomizer wants a full bingo on songs in Doctor Who, we've done Love Don't Roam, which is in The Runaway Bride. Also commissioned for the show, we'll need The Christmas Invasion for a song for a 10.
Right. We'll need End of the World for the jukebox music. I think it was it Toxic by Britney Spears? Was that the one that comes up?
Oh, no, I'm saying commissioned for the show.
Oh, commissioned for the show. Right.
Unless that's a little known Doctor Who fact that Toxic was commissioned for Doctor Who. There was apparently a song that was on the radio that was in remembrance of the Daleks that was commissioned for that plays on Ace's radio.
Oh, okay. So we got to get that one. All right.
Yeah. So we're just
any others.
We're two. So far as I know, we're two away from a newly commissioned songs for Doctor Who bingo. So
yeah. So it's funny. So the song I feel like is a symptom of a sort of a bigger issue. And I sort of alluded to this at the beginning, but this is a very tumultuous time in the show's history. There was a changeover, a couple of changeovers, when Verity Lambert announced she was leaving in the previous season. They went through a couple of producers pretty quickly, and they commissioned a bunch of episodes. But basically, this is, I believe, it's either the first or the second serial where Innes Lloyd is credited with being the producer and was the producer, but he hadn't commissioned it. And so
holdover from the Tosh regime, I believe.
Yes, Donald that's right, Tosh. So the name didn't pop in my head. So what they did, I feel like this was made kind of reluctantly, and it was made more as an experiment of stuff they wanted to do. Like, let's just do a Western. But they seem way too caught up in experimenting and just generally telling some version of the OK Corral story than actually writing a Doctor Who episode. Like I say, it starts out strong with the mistaken identity thing, but then it just doesn't seem to know where to go with it after an episode or two. Like the first cliffhanger is okay, the second cliffhanger is better. But think about it, that's a cliffhanger where the Doctor's like in a jail and is being told not to do anything, and then ends up kind of not doing anything. It's like what happens is Wyatt Earp comes out and punches a guy, and that sort of fixes the situation, and the Doctor's just staying inside and doing whatever, right? You're not having the main characters really have much effect here, and you get to the shootout at the OK Corral. Yeah, they're sort of there, but it's not like you're going to show the Doctor and Steven and everyone like shooting up everybody, right? So how is that your climax? We know what happens to some extent. So give us a twist, give us something else, give us something to pay attention to that beyond just the sort of historical thing you're doing, and it should not be the song.
Yeah, but I believe this was commissioned after the Mythmakers was kind of a hit in terms of the historicals,
right?
And
can't go wrong with a big horse.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Mythmakers. There's a lot to build on there with the Siege of Troy.
Another sort of symptom, I think, of this new regime here. It's like you get these punny episode titles, and one of them is A Holiday for the Doctor, which is a little bit clever. But it's funny you bring up the Mythmakers because they're one of the episodes there. I believe the name is There a Doctor in the Horse?
That's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I like that. Yeah, definitely better than Holiday for the Doctor, and the whole. It's not the first Doctor Who joke, is it?
For as an episode title, or
it is no. In terms of where he says, "My name's Dr. Cagliari," and the other guy says,
Caligari, right?
Caligari. And the other guy says, "Who?" And the Doctor says,
the Doctor Who, when they actually say those words, Doctor
exactly.
Who together. Yes. No, I'm not sure, actually. Oh, well, obviously, yes, of course. The very first episode has it. I think it's technically episode 2, where Barbara refers to him as Dr. Foreman, and Ian turns to her, he's like, that's not his name. It's clear, like, he didn't even know who the name was when I mentioned it to him. Who is he? Doctor Who. He just shrugs. And so that's the first sort of mention of the title. I guess it's almost like the justification for it for the brand new viewers who are encountering the show. And now, I got
to say, this does have. So Stephen Moffat has this theory, right, that Doctor Who is actually his full assumed name, which was made explicit in Worlds Enough at Time.
Yeah, was it made explicit though? I think that's what the Missy likes to say.
Missy says that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like so many times he's basically said just the Doctor, thanks.
Yes, but it's like it's all over the place here. First of all, Doctor Who, yes, precisely, but also the use of it in Doctor Who and the Savages, which is we have the lead in to the Savages as the next story
right
at the end. So it's one of those Doctor Who and titles, which didn't actually pan out because from the Savages onwards they didn't have separate episode titles.
Right,
so that's the final mention of it. And of course, we are reminded that was his name in the credits for the first 3 Doctors, I believe.
I think it might have even been 4. I think it might have been Davison who wanted it changed.
Yes.
I think we talked about that once before. Yeah. So lots of jokes. I gotta say, I like the comedic stuff very much in the first episode. Like I was very into the Doctor going in, getting his tooth pulled. I think it's hilarious that Doc Holliday is there about to pull the tooth, and he's already holding the bottle of whiskey. Like he's just got it there. It's not like he reaches in a drawer. It's just in his hand when the doctor asks for anesthetic, and then he takes a drink. And of course, the doctor, like any rational person, like the dentist, whether you're in the Old West or not, the dentist is like, takes a drink. You'd be, whoa, hey, I think I'm just gonna go. Thank you very much. I'm get this taken care of elsewhere.
It is definitely a classic scene. I cannot get over the Doctor Who, the Doctor having a toothache, and this led me into some interesting headcanon here, because do Time Lords get toothache? Like, we've never heard of this again. They do mention their teeth a lot, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. Tennant mentions new teeth.
Knows those teeth.
Yeah. So is toothache a sign that your body is wearing a bit thin?
Ooh.
If you're a Time Lord? Does this explain why the First Doctor is sort of generally grumpy? Because it's not just because he's an old codger in general. It's the toothache is a sign that he knows he's dying long before the 10th planet.
But did you like that bit where they scold him for having a sweet?
Yes.
Which was very much like, okay, kids, all you kids watching, be sure to brush your teeth after your sweets, or don't end up like the Doctor and in the Old West and getting your tooth pulled by a gunfighter.
That's right, because they might not have anesthetic, and the Doctor will weirdly think that anesthetic is a thing in the 1880s in Arizona. I don't think he would actually do that. That was a bit unrealistic. But
like, I was always like, dude, tough it up and wait until you're in the future. Like,
exactly.
just deal with it for a while.
It's just toothache, dude. Yeah. And why is he not just traveling around with his capacious pockets full of ibuprofen or whatever? Just have some painkillers on hand. If why step out of the TARDIS? The TARDIS is infinite. It's got to have a medicine cabinet somewhere.
I gotta say though, I do like these little bits that humanize the Doctor more. Now he's not human, but I prefer a more humanized Doctor who is mortal and bleeds and has toothaches and whatever else than sort of the semi-superhuman that has kind of emerged in the New Who, in the new series, where he can essentially regenerate hands. I don't know why he can't regenerate a tooth. I guess he's not in the first part of his regeneration cycle, so I guess that makes sense. But he can also like fall from a great height and generally survive. Like all of these sort of things that New Who sort of gave him a little too much invulnerability. I like these sort of reminders, and if nothing else, the Gunfighters does that. Oh, the Doctor has similar foibles and weaknesses, and he can be hurt, and that's important for heroes. They need to be able to sort of be hurt and occasionally fail and get smacked around. We still want them to be underdogs.
Absolutely, and there's another humanizing factor here. Well, several. First of all, to continue the headcanon, maybe if he knows he's dying, maybe he has a regeneration wish, and that explains why he's happy to play around with guns in this story, despite stating at the same time in the story that he doesn't like guns, which is good. That's on point for the Doctor. But also, he's like, twirling them, and he fires one, or thinks he fires one accidentally. Like he just doesn't seem to care, right? So the Doctor's got a death wish. Maybe he wants to regenerate.
That's it would one of my favorite scenes when he's in the prison and he's just goofing around with it. Hey, and he's asked, "Can you do this?"
Hey.
Like I've been hanging out with
Mr. Werp, he says.
Mr. Werp, yes, that was pretty funny. But I like his line where he's like, I hate guns. People just keep giving them to me. Like, what's going on? What kind of world is this? It's like, well, it's the Old West, Doctor. People are just going to keep handing you guns.
Indeed. And more headcanon to come out of this. The Doctor says he's teetotal.
Yes.
Right. So, and he is in fact drinking milk in the bar. Asphodel receives it in a later scene.
That's
first
a
of
great
all,
callback. I think it's in episode 4. Dodo and Steven are sitting there, and they make no mention of it, but they're clearly drinking milk. I thought that was a really nice visual gag.
Yeah, Dodo and the Doctor, yes.
Dodo and the Doctor, right.
Yeah, but first of all, he's a liar. Rule number 1, the Doctor lies. He's had mead in the Tide Meddler. And in fact said it was delicious. And we also know that he is drinking in Twice Upon a Time, right? Just before the 10th planet. There's the whole thing with the brandy.
Yeah.
And so is the Doctor an alcoholic who keeps falling off the wagon?
Well, to say nothing of Pertwee, who was a one-man wine and cheese show in, I think it was Day of the Daleks. So,
I haven't seen that.
The finer things, he was a stylish guy who was a connoisseur, just like Mr. Bond, perhaps. So, of course you had to have him occasionally taking a drink. Yeah. I mean, clearly, I guess you might be able to forgive different doctors who might have, different personalities and change that line. But the brandy thing, well, you could say that brandy's medicinal. Right.
You could, and perhaps the Doctor has been driven to drink by the awareness of his upcoming regeneration.
Okay. That works too.
Good headcanon, right?
Yeah. I like it.
Speaking of headcanon, I have something that will explain away all problems with the Gunfighters, and it's the fact that it comes directly after the Celestial Toymaker.
Yes.
And if I'm, who of course, as we know, is going to return for the 60th anniversary special.
Well, we don't know it.
Oh, well, we don't know it, but it's an open secret. Neil Patrick Harris is the Celestial Toymaker. They haven't refuted that, despite it being written in multiple places. I think RTD would refute it. So I wouldn't be surprised if RTD is going to use the Celestial Toymaker to cover up a lot of long-standing Doctor Who plot holes, or allow us to in our own headcanon, right? And I think one line I've written a line for RTD and for Neil Patrick Harris to say during the specials that would get over this, would get over everything. You could just have him say, "Oh, come on, Doctor, you've been skipping in and out of my universe ever since." Ever since we met in the Celestial Toymaker. Or did you think that was the real Tombstone, Arizona, with the song and everything?
Could be good.
Yeah.
I think it's a little too much of a get out of jail free card if you have to use it, but it is funny to see them in their sort of Celestial Toymaker outfits at the beginning of this one, and then quickly change into Hollywood version of cowboys, which is, I think, a joke. I don't know if this is just a trope or a thing they do, like these showperson cowboy outfits, because they made the same joke in Back to the Future 3, where Michael J. Fox's character basically sent back by Doc in time to the Old West in what he thinks is like what people dressed there, but it's like a pink shirt with tassels and
basically
weird chaps, and it's just you look like a complete goofball.
Well, that's definitely well into the tradition of the dude ranch, right? Which is a thing that started in the 1890s, which is actually where we get the word dude from. It's from dude ranch. You kind of go up and you pose as a cowboy for a weekend. New Yorkers did it all, and it sort of meant at first that you were kind of a dandy. You were a day tripper. You just went up, pretended to play at cowboys, and then went back to your job in the city.
And so they would sell all this sort of dude ranch fashion, I guess. And
I guess, yeah. And then it just
pick up one of these glorious shirts and you'd be like, it's made for better photography, I suppose.
It became a thing in the 50s, really, in terms of fashion, because there was so much cowboy content on TV. And Westerns were so popular, including the gunfight at the OK Corral, which precedes this by about 9 years, I believe. It was just the movie.
Yeah.
It was just very, very fashionable to dress like a cowboy. So I think it's kind of what Stephen is referencing. It's definitely supposed to be a bit over the top, but it is weird that having done that, and supposedly if you're doing a Western farce, that nobody would comment on Stephen's strange gear after that. Like, why not have it be a running gag? It's definitely what you do with New Who. It's what they do in Legend of the Sea Devils with Dan's pirate costume, right?
Right, yeah. They dress him up in this thing, and then they just never really make reference to it. He's just kind of there, and, it helps us see him in scenes where there's a bunch of people with hats. But it doesn't do much more than that.
I mean, it kind of looks cool. I actually like that first cliffhanger where Stephen has to sing the song at gunpoint and kind of keeps doing double takes at the guns pointed around him. First of all, Peter Purves, not actually a bad singer.
Yeah, he's all right.
It was supposed to be Dodo doing the singing, and they found out that the actress couldn't really sing, couldn't really hold a tune, so they switched. Jackie Lane plays Dodo. She couldn't sing.
He does okay. I do know Peter Purves hated it, hated singing, and did not like this episode.
He's actually come around on it. He actually thinks the story is pretty good now, but it was colored by the fact that he hated the song so much.
He hated the song. But yes, I was listening to the commentary a little bit on the DVD, and he's definitely come around. He basically says, what, this actually looks great, and there's a really fun story here. But he had a lousy experience. And again, I think it's symptomatic of what I talked about earlier, where the director and the producer were more concerned with sort of telling this funny and fun historical tale, a historical tale, it turned out, but they weren't really paying much attention to what the regulars were doing. And Peter Purves apparently felt that. Like, basically the director spent a lot of time casting the guest cast, which is generally pretty good, and figuring out their performances and what they were doing, and really didn't have much to say to him or Jackie Lane or William Hartnell. Just kind of like, oh yeah, come in, do your thing. And he kind of felt that.
Supposedly he just kind of looked down on Doctor Who in general, this director, and felt it was a kid show and it was beneath him. And despite having been involved in
Rex
the
Tucker. Rex Tucker, yes, that was, yes.
Rex Tucker, such a 60s name. You definitely imagine that being the name of an Air Force colonel.
Apparently, also didn't get along very well with William Hartnell. According to this, he did direct. I think he directed one other story.
He did. You know what he did do, Mr. Tucker, is he approached Patrick Troughton to play the role of Ringo.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
And Troughton turned it down because he was busy. But I wonder if, well, first of all, bullet dodged, Mr. Troughton. Well done. Secondly, I kind of wonder whether his American accent would have been worse than the guy who does play Johnny Ringo. And it is, I gotta bring up the accents, because this is a big part of why I could barely pay attention to the plot here. Because to my ears, and your mileage may vary, to my ears, these are some of the worst accents in Doctor Who. This is Perry times a million in terms of English actors doing bad American accents. And the guy who plays Johnny Ringo especially is like, I could hear his posh voice breaking through in almost every line he says. And it's so distracting.
Yeah, the accents are definitely the weakest thing. And they're all like, some of them are better than others, but they're all very stagey. They're all very, I don't know. There's a tone that's set here, and I don't know if it's by any particular actor or the director, but the whole thing it feels very forced and solid, and a lot of the dialogue just doesn't feel natural. And that's why I really like it when you do get moments where the Doctor is sort of the focus of a scene or gets to have a fun line in the scene, because then finally you get more of a natural laugh, because this is clearly mostly played for laughs, and you just have you have a better flow to the scene. But the problem is, of course, they're way more concerned with simply arranging these Old West chess pieces and getting them to interact than actually telling a good Doctor Who story.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it does get away from the cast and from the Who centricness that is essential. But I'm glad to hear you say that, because we've talked a lot about accents on the show before, and I definitely have my ear out for them. So I'm glad it wasn't just me, because accents is definitely my Achilles heel. I will not be able to listen to the dialogue if the accent is bad.
Well, who in the cast do you think had a good accent? I got to say, Doc Holliday was okay. He's on screen a lot, especially early on, and I just kind of liked his sort of the sneering voice he sort of has.
Yeah,
and I think one of the better moments, he has some of the better moments for sure of the guest cast, and one of the better moments for me was when Dodo tries to force him at gunpoint to go back, and he just, in a very cute way, kind of plays along and sort of lets her believe that she's got the better of him and he's going to just go because she did it, whereas obviously he's just, doing whatever he wants. That was cute. I mean, it kind of made you like Holiday and get a little more into what he was trying to do.
I have to ask you this about Dodo, because I know very little about the character, but is she supposed to be kind of Martha Jones to Stephen's doctor, as it were? Is she fancies him?
That's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think that's what they were going for.
Because isn't there the moment where she storms off because Stephen is getting too much attention from Kate?
Interesting.
Yeah,
that is true. I never really picked up on that. But the thing about this period of Doctor Who, not only is it tumultuous within the show, because it's what survives from this period is so random. It's really hard to feel the through line with any of these characters, because even if you're watching all of the episodes, I think obviously Celestial Toymaker is missing, Dalek's Master Plan is missing, Mythmakers is missing, so most of the first part of this season is gone. So I think you literally go from the Time Meddler to this one, and
pretty much.
You kind of, what happened to Vicky? What's going on? And Dodo's journey. She was very ill served. I think it's very well known that she was essentially written out, and it wasn't her idea. And she doesn't even get a leaving scene in the War Machines. So, I mean, there could have been something to explore there, but it's mostly unexplored as far as I know.
Yeah, just like a lot of unexplored moments in the Gunfighters as a whole. Like, it just doesn't have the commitment to its own bit.
Yeah,
just in general.
It certainly commits to that song though, and all of the shooting that happens. What did you think of the barkeep, who I thought was kind of
Charlie?
amusing? Yeah, I mean, he gets to like, in terms of like characters, I think the characters that sort of are memorable are the ones that sort of lean into their stereotypes a bit. And the meek barkeep, this is like Charlie nails it. I'm not sure the actor's name, but he you kind of feel it when he gets shot, right? Like, it's like,
pouring one out for
Ringo
Charlie.
guy, he's so bad. I don't know. What did you think?
I mean, I couldn't get over the fact that the barkeep gets two verses of the song. It's super weird that after he dies, his body gets laid out on the bar,
right?
Which is cause for another moment where William Hartnell accidentally puts his hand on the body, and then it's like So it was all a little bit weird. He's just sort of to my mind, I don't know. I didn't pay too much attention to Charlie because I was distracted by Johnny Ringo and his accent. I like the idea, like, with a few more twists, and if he'd been more present, that could have been interesting. Maybe he could have narrated it instead of the song. Maybe he could have turned to camera, a la the end of The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
There he goes, the doctor.
So your accent just in that line is probably 10 times better than anyone's in this episode.
Thank you. Living in the US for 25 years, I would hope so. But even I would not dare do it live on the stage.
So I'd say Charlie, the Doc Holliday, Kate is pretty good. I got to say, all of the Clantons and even Seth Harper are pretty forgettable to me. They all kind of merged into the same, like, who's who again. And this is one of those cases where, I hate to say it, the black and white does not help, because at least in color you could give them different vests or different hats, and with such bland writing as to who's who, you could at least get a visual cue. Here there's very little of that.
What happened to the white hats? Why aren't the good guys wearing white hats? Like, that seems to be the level at which this is pitched, and it would at least clear things up.
Yeah. But Hartnell's good. You got the warp, the warp thing, which doesn't get too annoying. There is a point, though, I guess, because Dodo's not there is the reason they don't do it, because she's been taken by Holiday. So they keep having some reason that they don't just leave. But is there a point? I forget exactly in episode 4 when they all kind of get back together. It's kind of like, why don't we just go? Was there an opportunity before the end? Honestly, I'd have to think about it. I was the guy doing the plot summary, and I don't even know. But
you're like, please just go. Let's just leave this doctor. And then finally, there's not even a moment at the end where is it Wyatt Earp who sees them off into the stables? I guess he thinks they're going to get on horses, and nobody asks why this police box is sitting there. But then again, perception filter, as we just saw in the Master Trilogy, the TARDIS has one. But there was an opportunity for a moment of like, wait a minute, why are you getting in that blue box? And then being shocked by it taking off.
Definitely. Missed opportunity. Not that.
Well, you know what? This is the only classic Who, probably for good reason. This is the only classic Who serial set in the US, set entirely in the US, and the Two Doctors was going to be another one, which we've already been to. We know that JNT wanted to set that in New Orleans. But maybe this saved it. Maybe the fact that this was so bad and the appreciation index was so low and all of that, perhaps that saved us from more attempts to do America-based stories in Doctor Who.
Well, it takes a while to even get another American, right? I'm only one that comes to mind is in Claws of Axis. Remember that guy? I forget his name.
Yes. Oh God, the CIA guy.
Yeah, kind of. It was a little more memorable than most of the characters here, at least. But maybe they got really gun shy about having Americans or even any reference to America in the show for a while.
Yeah, and given Perry's unfortunate accent, maybe they should have stayed gun shy.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know. Is there a reason? I guess I wouldn't know, by maybe just sheer practicality, but is there a reason they didn't cast Americans? Is that were there no American actors in London or working for the BBC? Was that a thing?
I think that's it. I think you just sort of assumed in this day and age, you hire an actor and they're a jobbing actor and they could do any accent that you want, including in the 60s and 70s, a lot of accents that we would consider racist and, cultural appropriation and all of that.
Well, then there was the
just
racism of casting white actors to, portray clearly Asian characters and stuff like that.
There was blackface, brownface, yellowface, all of that. It was just treated as normal. So, why would you change that for American accents? I think that people...
Yeah, but here you wouldn't have to, you could... I mean, not that it's okay, but you could at least keep them white. I mean, if that's your concern, right? But... they just didn't have them. I don't know. I also just expect if you have a BBC production, there's an institutional quality to the BBC, and there was certainly at this time, right? Like you were the kind of actor that was a BBC, player of some kind, and so you probably really didn't have that many Americans who were recruited for that roles for whatever it was, no matter what the budget was.
There may have also been acting union rules that would have prevented, prevented the hiring of foreigners for British labor.
There was one. And I only know this because I was listening to the commentary, and they had Shane Rimmer,
who's Canadian.
Yes,
is that right?
So he played Seth Harper. He's Canadian. So that's borderline.
That's why you remember Seth Harper. Canadians represent. Yeah,
exactly.
I got it. Maybe they should. I mean, there were bound to be a lot more Canadians in London, and they were
Right.
in the Commonwealth. So exactly, you were on our side, whereas Johnny Yank, not so sure about that. But yes, they're always a little suspect. And also we should give a shout out to the 10th Planet, to the terrible General Ripper-like character.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. See, someone was going to shout at that. Like, we should really stop trying to get our memories and figure out, like, if this is the first or the only, because we always seem to.
It is interesting that the randomizer does seem to love bad American accents.
That's true.
We've had so many of them. We've had the 10th Planet. We've had so many Perry episodes, and a quite ridiculous quantity of Perry episodes.
That's true, yeah.
So
we had Attack of the Cybermen. We had the Two Doctors. We had the Mysterious Planet. I think those are the ones, right?
Planet of Fire, exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. So she's all over the place. So that may help us answer the first of 4 questions, which I think maybe it's time we get to. What do you think?
It is time to transition everyone to the 4 questions to Doomsday.
We need a special cowboy version of that stinger.
Yeah.
Do it on banjos. Yes.
Why did the randomizer take us here? What's your take?
Well, it had heard that we were worried about having too many bangers.
Yeah.
And took care of that in a jiffy.
Well,
heard about I've got more. I mean, it heard about our Christmas request, wanted to give us Feast of Stephen. It's terrible pun. It does terrible jokes. And it is sort of a good Christmassy episode to choose to watch right before Christmas, because you have to be in a charitable mood. Charitable Christmassy mood to really, give your all to this. And also the King's Demons connection, closing time connection, the Master being shot at the end of the Master trilogy. Like maybe that put the randomizer in mind of more gunplay.
Oh, yes. Gunplay.
And we did talk about American accents in Zygon Inversion because of the sheriff in... The sheriff in Truth or Consequences, which may have set the randomizer thinking it wanted more sheriffs in Western towns.
Well, and that's in New Mexico, right? And New Mexico is mentioned here.
It is.
Yeah, so, boom.
Could they be the only Doctor Who episodes to mention New Mexico? Write in and let us know.
We're getting close to American Bingo, maybe.
We are.
Yeah, it's a big card, but we'll see. So
all we need is a town called Mercy next. But yeah.
My theory is, so we said it previously on Pull to Open, we recently did a Hartnell, Planet of Giants. And it's interesting that this is the next Hartnell that we do, because both of this and Planet of Giants are remarkably unrepresentative of the show. So I think that's kind of the connection here. It's like, let's show these weird Hartnell episodes when the show was in the genesis, and I wouldn't even say a strange place. It didn't know itself all that well yet. And it was experimenting and trying to figure itself out. And in both cases, we should be a bit grateful that these were sort of failed experiments. And I just, like we were saying, because they were failed experiments, it's good that these formats didn't take over. But at the same time, I think they might have overcompensated, at least on the Planet of Giants one, where they haven't visited the small world again, and there's things to learn from them. But I'm glad the show tried to do these things.
Yeah, it's interesting. We haven't really done any Hartnell bangers yet.
No. And there are some, certainly.
There are some. But 10th Planet was another example of a strange episode that was not very... a strange story. It was not very Who-like, including missing William Hartnell for the whole 3rd episode. So, yeah, it's a fan of abnormal Hartnell.
Did we call that one a banger? 10th Planet? I can't remember.
No, I don't think we had banger in our rating system. It was pretty good. I think we felt it was poised between...
We might have to do some revisionist ratings.
There's a mini episode for you.
Yeah. Love it. Cool. All right. Second question. What if the evil plot had succeeded?
Well, I guess that the evil plot is the Clantons. Evil plot,
I guess.
unless this is all Celestial Toymaker territory. And if the Clantons plot succeeds, then Stephen is dead.
At what point? When is he killed in the saloon or is he hung?
Hung, I would say.
So it's like Earp doesn't go out
Yeah.
to stop them, or whatever reason. Maybe he's someone gets the drop on him. So Earp gets killed. Stephen gets killed.
Does the Doctor?
Maybe the Doctor has to regenerate.
Yeah, I was going to say Patrick Troughton is actually called onto set. Just a.
But if you presume
early.
Wyatt Earp's killed here and the Clans win, and this changes American history. And is it a big deal? I don't know. I think people have debated this, actually. So I would defer to historians. But assuming it is a big deal, then maybe the Old West is a little more lawless for a little longer. You have a weakened America in the 20th century because of that, because there isn't as much settling.
Yeah, Arizona might not be admitted to the Union.
Yeah, so and in that case, a lot of episodes don't happen because geopolitics is completely changed. Maybe a powerful Germany in World War II never really is defeated or surrenders, and there's a very dystopian 20th century. Wow.
That is definitely a thing you can do with American history, right? Just a few tweaks here and there. America doesn't enter World War II. The history of the world becomes very different. Also, a few tweaks here and there that the South basically stays independent. The Confederacy survives.
Right. Yeah.
It's been trying to rise again ever since.
Well, this is what, 1880, 1881?
1881,
so,
yeah.
So this is post that. But yeah, there's definitely potential for things to go very askew.
Yeah. This, post Reconstruction, the South did rise again in a lot of ways.
Well, it's funny that it's weird. I always find interesting connections, not just between the randomizers selected episodes, but as you know, I'm listening to Big Finish, and I just did a story. I really got to remember these names, but it basically is, speaking of Perry, it's the Fifth Doctor and Perry and Aramem, who they've just picked up, and they go to 17th century France. And there is an interesting bit in the final episode in that one. I'll find the title in a second here, but they do talk about history and changing history. And Perry sort of asked the Doctor, why don't we just go? Like, I know there's this army outside Paris, but we know that doesn't happen, right? Like, we could just go. And he's like, oh, Perry, you don't get it. Like, he's basically like, we're part of events. We always have been. Yeah. We can't just ditch this. Like, this is, trust me. Like, he's kind of like, trust me, I'm a Time Lord. I know what I have to do. Not that he knew the outcome of all the events, but it was like that leaving in the middle of this is not a thing, is, essentially what he says. Which certainly I found interesting.
In this case, once the Doctor is deputized, he's very much a part of events.
Yeah.
Instead of Virgil Earp deputizing Wyatt, it's Wyatt deputizing the Doctor.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the Church and the Crown. That was it. The Church and the Crown.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot there about the Musketeers, the Cardinal, the King of France. It's actually pretty cool, especially with a queen that looks and sounds a lot like one Ms. Nicola Bryant. So,
interesting.
Yeah.
Bit like the Doctor in the Reign of Terror, yeah. Okay,
right.
Well, yeah. we should definitely keep track of these. I wonder if this could be a separate sheet in the codex of just all of the good Big Finish that you've recommended on the show. Because
the Big Finish connections. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, I'd love to have that. We talked about Jubilee with Dalek, of course. Still have to finish listening to that. But
I'll start another sheet.
There we go.
All right, third question. Mm-hmm. The third question to Doomsday is, where is the Clara Splinter here? Clara Oswald, of course, splintered at the end of the time of the Doctor. Why do I get this wrong every time? The name of the Doctor, and has been fractured across his timeline, ensuring that he is victorious and does right in these episodes. So where could she be?
Oh God! Either she's in the TARDIS leaving sweets out for the Doctor to snack on to make sure that he has to stop and get his teeth checked, or she's she's in the Last Chance Saloon somewhere, filling in any plot holes that might exist there.
So my theory is that she's not here, but to preserve history, she arrives just after. And so she gets a job at the Last Chance Saloon and trashes that old song, and it is never heard from again in history. And she instead gets them something better. Maybe there's some new anthem. Maybe she creates the Arizona anthem or something. Because that, like, she's playing cleanup here. No, that song must burn. It must die. It must forever be forgotten by history.
Yeah,
and I think that is the role that she plays here.
And maybe there's a hidden verse that's been added about the Doctor, and Stephen and Dodo coming to town. Their place in the shootout memorialized by the song. So that's why she has to kill it. She has to cover up proof of the Doctor's existence. So that would work.
Yeah.
But I like that idea of her. She actually sings it to death so that no one wants to hear it ever again. The folk singers don't write it down. Like, nobody, it's just lost to history.
Yes, it must be lost to history. So good job, Clara, getting rid of that. All right, guys, the last question, the only question, the key question: is this show, this particular episode, is it a Dalek, which we reserve for a good episode, an Ogron, which is a not so good episode, a Professor Hater, which is a not so good episode, but at least we learned something, or a Viscount Banger, the rating we reserve for the best of the best episodes?
Well,
what do you got?
Look at this, y'all. Sidling up to the bar at the Last Chance Saloon, waiting for a cool glass of sarsaparilla. It's Doc Hater and the Ogron Kid.
Wow, it's a Hater Ogron.
It's Hater and the Ogron Kid. You gotta have his understudy. Hater's gotta have someone to hate it off against. The Ogron Kid could be like, I don't know, I thought this was actually quite a good episode.
Well, I think Professor Hater and the Ogron Kid got into a little disagreement at the bar and then had a shootout outside. And Hater, although wounded, managed to square one right between the eyes of the Ogron and prevails. Because this is ultimately a Hater, in my opinion, because you learn a lot. You learn a lot about Doctor Who, what works and what doesn't. And Hater, man, his class is in session here. I mean, this is like I say, this is how to do Doctor Who on a good budget for the time, with good production values and a lot of effort paid to it, and then still screw it up, right?
Yes.
Because you make these very poor choices of the story, of what to focus on, as well as including a song, which again, I don't want to hate on the show too much for experimenting. You experimented, but the thing is, sometimes experiments blow up in your face. And that's basically what happened here.
That is very true, and yeah, I like that idea of it being a Hater, because we learn so much, and we learn not to go to America, not to do historicals. This is kind of one of the nail in the coffin of all historicals. We should definitely mention that they do 2 more, ending with the Highlanders. But yeah. So
I think, but you're not wrong, Matt. I think that is definitely a lesson the show took from this. That as the producers are like, oh, the ratings were like it was badly reviewed at the time, and certainly some people have found stuff to like in the Gunfighters. We found a little bit here. Again, I think it's one of Hartnell's best comedic performances, but there is a clear lesson. They were like, oh yeah, no more of this historical stuff, which I would say is overcompensating. We've even talked about the episode. There was at least one episode we talked about that we thought was better served by historical. It was the Witchfinders, right? Which is more recent, obviously, but a pure historical can work. And the one I just mentioned on Big Finish actually is. So the Church and the Crown, Church and the Crown or Crown and the Church? The Church of the Crown. That is actually a pure historical. There's no weird alien threat. So you can do it.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
Into it. But yeah, I think it also maybe proved that cowboy dramas don't work too well.
Well, they can.
Town Called Mercy, also kind of forgettable. Watch the randomizer take us there next.
Bite your tongue. No, this might be an interesting one to go to next because I would disagree. But anyway, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, now that I think about it, they didn't, to my knowledge, go back to the Old West until that show, right? I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong. So, yeah.
I think you are right, sir. But let's find out by stepping back into our TARDIS.
Let's do it.
Activating our randomizer.
Yeah.
And as long-time listeners know, the randomizer is composed of two components. First of all, the codex that Pete has up. He is the one who is in charge of looking at the numbers that we've put next to the stories, the discrete stories, the 302 discrete stories in Doctor Who televisual history. And I am in charge of random.org, which is the executor, which uses atmospheric noise to choose between the numbers 1 and 302 and all of the numbers in between, rather than doing it algorithmically, which is kind of pseudo-random. And that's not a very good way to do it. So we're bouncing around the atmosphere like bullets in the Last Chance Saloon.
Totally. Okay. Are we ready for this? So wait, we guess we should challenge the randomizer because that's a thing we like to do.
We do.
And have it ignore us or perhaps find an interesting connection. So, Chris, what would you like to challenge the randomizer for this time?
There are so many options here, aren't there? You could ask it to go for a triple Yahtzee for A Town Called Mercy. We could ask it to do the Christmas Invasion or Remember It's the Daleks to try and get our bingo on Doctor Who songs commissioned for the show. Yeah, we could do Western ones, we could do American ones. I would say let's go to another example. I'm going to be a glutton for punishment here. Let's go to another example of bad accents in Doctor Who, not necessarily American ones.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
like maybe some bad Scottish accents.
Have they ever done alien accents? I guess they're always something.
Chan, we have not.
I think that'd be fine. I'm going to challenge it. Now that we've done a couple of older classic stories that are unrepresentative of the show, I would say give us the opposite. Give us what you think is pure distilled textbook Doctor Who randomizer. Like what is like the absolute best example of the shows we haven't done yet of what Doctor Who should be. Do that.
All right. Here it comes. War Games.
Okay. What's the countdown? See, the thing is, I've been obsessing a little too much about the long episodes lately, and it's like the long episodes are going to come at some point. Well, we'll deal with it when they do.
We'll get it out of the way, just like we got Gunfighters out of the way. Yeah,
exactly. So, all right, are you ready, sir?
I'm ready.
Put your hand on the random.org. Here we go. In 4, 3, 2, 1.
Excellent.
23.
Oh, still Hartnell.
Yes.
Dude. As you may recall, the one we just talked about was 24. So we have our first full-on missing episode to do.
Oh my God.
It is the Celestial Toymaker.
Whoa. I cannot believe it. We're in it. Oh my God. I was going to bring that up. Like we need to see the Celestial Toymaker before the 60th special. What remains of it.
While you were talking about the Celestial Toymaker, I was thinking about mentioning that and essentially talking about the fact that it's missing and the fact that it's not animated. And that I know they're ending the animated episodes, but I was, as part of other business, when we talk about Disney Plus and whatever else, I was sort of planning in my head, let's talk about getting a message to Disney Plus. Hey, you should figure out some way to release this episode somewhere because people are going to want to see it, even if, they're not Who fans. After the specials are aired, people are going to be very curious about the Celestial Toymaker. It should be available.
For sure.
to somebody, because this is the only time, obviously, he appears in the classic series. But
if anyone can animate it fast, it would be Disney.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And whether it's an animation or just some special release with telesnaps, I don't know, but definitely get it out there. So, wow, I'm excited to check this out. I'm excited to sort of figure out how we're going to do this one. I imagine there are audios out there we can grab, but yeah, we'll figure it out. It's not too long. It's 4
and
episodes.
we have. Yeah, we have our William Hartnell actor on tap, David Bradley.
Yeah,
he could totally step in and do that. We could do some motion capture with him. I don't know how you want to do it. Yeah, do a reenactment. Peter Purvis, is he still around? Could he come back to this?
Yeah, of course he can.
Yeah.
Dude,
there
he
we go.
can play the toy maker now. We have to sort of recast him.
Could.
Yeah.
Well, it would be interesting if you did it with Neil Patrick Harris doing the voice. That would be fun.
That'd be I'm loving this special edition we're coming up with. Guys, all right. Wow, looking forward to talking about a legendary episode of the classic series, The Celestial Toymaker, of which there have been several sequels in audio, books, and I think comics as well. We should probably try to get an inventory of those as we chat about it. But we're going to chat about it next time, because you have come to the end of this episode of Pull to Open. This is a podcast, everyone. It's a podcast, and podcasts are things you should subscribe to on whatever service you are listening to us on, just in case you haven't done that, or if you're countering us on a web embed. And even if you have, I'm going to repeat my request that I voiced at the beginning of the show. Even if you have subscribed to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Stitcher, Overcast, if you've done that, go ahead over to youtube.com/pull-to-open and also subscribe to us there, please. We are having a lot of great discussion there, and you get to see us when you subscribe on YouTube. So that's a special bonus. Guys, this has been a great year. This is our last episode of 2022 that we're posting. It has been awesome to interact with everyone on all the socials and we've actually put out more than 40 episodes this year. That's a record for us.
Wow.
So that's like way more than half the year in terms of weeks. So thank you everyone for staying with us on this journey. Follow us on TikTok and the other socials at either Pull to Open on TikTok or Pull to Open 63 on Twitter and Instagram. And in all the other places you can find us. And we will definitely be around next year. See you soon.
See you in the toy room.